Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Marcia Metzger with Parents on the Level with Diane Stover and her wonderful group, Protect Ohio Children. And we're bringing this to you from the Eastern Standard Time Zone. And we are absolutely excited about helping everyone understand how they can equip themselves with information to get busy in their local areas. It is a new year, and we are excited about a new year. We're excited that the election is behind us, and we know that this particular administration is ready to grab this issue of DEI, and they're going to do their best to undo it. But unless we want to find ourselves, at the precipice once again, um, in the next 4 years, DEI has got to DIE or die. So let's get started and jump right in. So DEI, for those of you that might not understand what it means, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion, which sounds great, but those words don't mean what you might think they mean. But what we could say is that in the way that they mean them, that DEI could also stand for that they didn't earn it. They're getting jobs based on skin color or orientation, sexual orientation. It's anti-merit. Also, dividing everyone intentionally. That could be another way you could look at it. Or even worse, dictatorship enforcement ideology, because that's really what it is. DEI certainly should not stand for don't engage it. We have to engage it. Trump, his administration cannot get this out alone. Taking down the Department of Education at the federal level is not going to take this away. We have to find it in our schools and root it out because these teachers and these counselors, many of them, have been indoctrinated by these higher education schools. They're targeting the colleges right now mainly. K-12, I don't hear as much discussion about K-12 and people really going into K-12 schools and drilling into it with open record work, like organizations like mine. We've this work together. We've got to get other organizations across the country doing the same thing. So that's why Parents on the Level and Protect Ohio Children, we're bringing these kinds of things to you, bringing these screens like this for you to use. You can download these from my website, parentsonthelevel.com, and use these screens, any of these tutorials, and you can start having events in your area. Parents on the Level, it's talking about the local level. At the level is how we're going to fight and get this out of our schools. So the DEI systems, the system is cultural Marxism, and it divides everyone into oppressors or oppressed. Diverse topics featuring marginalized groups are introduced to students systemically through culturally responsive teaching or culturally relative teaching pedagogies. They're also using critical gender and race theories, and censorship with using critical media literacy is also some of the ways DEI is fluid in our schools. Some of these things you might say, gosh, Marcia, I don't know what these things mean, some of them. These are things we have covered in past webinars. So if you go to parentsonthelevel.com backslash or forward slash, I'm sorry, webinars, you will be able to find it. Okay. So it's Parents on the Level. That actually is a typo. That should be plural. Parentsonthelevel.com. All right. So the election was won, like I said, but it's time to engage. Ground game is most effective in the first 6 months of an election cycle. Folks, if we don't really come on strong, the other day I watched Notre Dame and Georgia play their playoff game. And Notre Dame, they flat came down the field at Georgia, and I think it rattled them. Now, Georgia had a few players down, but when I look at that, that's how we have to come out of the gate running at this issue. We have to have people on the ground going to these school board meetings and pushing back. So it's time. So let's go. Now, I want to introduce you to, and I've touched on this in other webinars, the Castle series I've talked with you about, the communist goals for America. These were introduced into the congressional record back in 1963. There's 45 of them. Now, these issues come to life in a way that no one else could bring them to life than a brain surgeon like Ben Carson and Tucker Carlson. Let's let you watch this minute here and see what you think, because this is where I'm headed with this, folks. This is why we cannot afford to rest and we have to hit it at the local level. So watch this video.
5 goals of communism in America and how they plan to fundamentally change our society. It was derived from a book called The Naked Communist by W. Cleon Skousen, who was a CIA agent. And you look at those 45 goals, it was things like gaining control of the public school system and the teacher unions so that you could indoctrinate the kids, gaining control of the news media and Hollywood so that you could manipulate the opinions of people, denigrating the role of the family, denigrating the role of the church, getting into the churches and changing the real gospel to the social gospel, making sexual perversion normal, natural, and healthy.
How far away from that are we now, do you think?
That's one of the reasons that Khrushchev was so confident when he talked to Eisenhower and said that your grandchildren's children will live under our system. We won't have to fight a war because we think we won the Cold War. But they had a much better plan on how to actually change us, and we're falling.
Folks, that right there, it's a great condensed version of the 45 goals. Everything he said is covered there. You can find the connections to social and emotional learning in it through the mental health pushes that it does with these goals all the way through it. It will chill you to your bones when you read them. And you can look up thenakedcommunist.com and you can read them for yourself. It is chilling. So that's what they've been using. So anyway, the systems, like we've said, they're in place. Woke curricula is in use. Operatives have been trained. They're throughout the nation. Higher ed has indoctrinated and trained many of our teachers. We all know this, but if our kids, schools, and nation are not, if they're going to survive, DEI has got to die. All right, the commitment to DEI, we've covered this in past webinars. I've got these listed here for you. The commitment is woven into every one of these levels. Again, you're going to hear this word from me throughout this webinar. It is systemic. They've been projecting onto us this word systemic racism, systemic this, systemic that, and this is fully what they have been doing systemically. All right, so this came out by Parents Defending Education, and the numbers have come out. Fox News picked it up as well. Biden's education department spent over $1 billion, that's with a B, billion dollars on DEI grants. This includes 42 states plus Washington, D.C., 296 school districts, 6,766,158 children. Guys, this is how serious and just how ubiquitous this situation is. We have to really fully understand this, use these kinds of graphics to get the point across. Just keep sharing them over and over again on whether it's X, Facebook, or any other social media that you subscribe to. Instagram, TikTok, put them out there. All right, this is the deep state of the schools. We've shared this before with you, but I just like to revisit this when we do one of these webinars. All of these different people, the red line, finances, all of these people below, on this white box on the side here, that 95%, that could be completely wiped out. That just needs to go. All of it needs to go. And even some of the principles, the behaviors would change. You wouldn't need as many principals on that yellow line because that's pretty much principals and assistant principals. We used to just have a principal at my school. Interesting, huh? We've only increased by 10% teachers and 5% students. And if we've only increased 5% students with all of these illegals we have in America, what does this number say to you? This is very interesting. All right, so this is why our work is so necessary. Courage is a Habit just put out this graphic. I think it's fantastic the way that they have done this. They always do they do just such quality work. And I was messaging back and forth with, I think it was Alvin. It might have been Jennifer, but I think it was Alvin, the other day on Twitter. And we were going back and forth, and he was like, share these far and wide. And he's just so grateful for anyone that will pick them up and share them. So don't be ashamed or afraid to share things. Sometimes we're afraid, oh, well, they might feel weird if I do this. No, he wants it shared. Share it and share it far and wide. Look at what it's saying. The $1 billion lie, the suicide rates. Social emotional learning made this claim that they would help improve suicide rates and mental health and bring a better education system to us. It has done nothing of that sort. Our suicide rates have increased by more than 8% annually. Folks, what it is SEL is they're making billions of dollars on our children. That's all this is. They're making money and they're also driving the communist globalist agenda. That's what it is. And the American people, are paying to have our children indoctrinated. They even list they do this beautiful graphic that has every one of the references they've used so you can read this information for yourself and determine how this has worked against us. Folks, it'd be one thing if it was just us. This is against our children. All right, so CASTLE, we've discussed again that it is a digital Trojan. I've done a little work on the acronym for CASTLE to bring more of the truth out of what it really means. It's the Collaborative for Advancing Socialist Emotional Learning. Folks, this is humanism. This is how this works. All of these different divisions, that's what everything, like what Ben had said a minute ago, that's exactly what it is. And this is their formula, and it's on a flag. It is on a flag. This is like the swastika of this DEI effort to take our nation from us. Do you find yourself represented on this? If you're a person of color, you might be able to find your skin tone on it, but I don't think you align yourselves with the hearts and minds of these Marxists. Inclusion, what they're claiming, we know that that is a lie. This doesn't include everyone. It doesn't include everyone that believes that sex is a binary. It doesn't include Christians, that's for sure. They definitely are excluding a person or a non-BIPOC, a non-Black Indigenous person of color. I mean, don't you just love if you're white being called a non-BIPOC? I mean, really, that's basically what all of this is. This flag represents an anti-God agenda. Let's just be frank. So this is their systemic DEI toolbox. All of these things, agitating propaganda or agitprop. When you're hearing constant, just a barrage of all of this news about how people are being just either assaulted or insulted or whatever it is, all of that is agitating propaganda. It's just meanness. We get polarized if we speak out. We get branded names, racist, misogynist, homophobe, whatever. Division is caused. Again, like I've spoken a minute ago about how they project things on us. This is DEI at work. This is systemic. So I want you to hear two examples, these two videos, and feel free to use these because these are powerful. The first one is going to be Hillary. Everyone knows Hillary. The next one is the executive director of the NEA, the National Education Association Teachers Union. And this was of the 22 delegate convention there. So watch these and we'll discuss after that.
To just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are People like that.
All right, next one up.
And now, given the decisions handed down by the Supreme Court in the last 2 weeks, it appears we face a judicially imposed theocracy. President Pringle cited several of those cases yesterday. NEA, our highest court in the land just took a sledgehammer to the principle of separation of church and state in both the voucher and school prayer cases. The court made everyone who is able to give birth feel like second-class citizens.
That was
Anyone
inclusion.
watch Handmaid's Tale? Art imitating life.
That was inclusion language.
And worse yet, because the court eviscerated our right to privacy, it has now set the stage for challenging the right to obtain contraception, the right to be intimate with whom we love, the right to marry someone of a different race, the right to marry someone of the same sex. I hope, delegates, I hope that none of us will be shy about sharing the following indictment. This Supreme Court and significant numbers of radicalized elected officials have walked away from freedom and justice for all toward an extreme, controlling, discriminatory, exclusionary, misogynistic, homophobic, out-of-touch, racist, cruel, corrupt ideology.
There's your teachers cheering her on.
But delegates, as President Pringle reminded us yesterday, we are NEA. Whether it's Frederick Douglass or Paulo Freire or Audre Lorde, we hear in our ears, we know this. Despair is used as a tool to oppress.
Projection.
To suppress the rights of the people, to stifle dissent in the face of injustice, to sow division among the masses and undermine our collective ability to rise up together. Those who attempt to take away our freedom do so in order to accumulate more wealth or more power or both for themselves. They want us to feel hopeless. They want us to feel defeated. This tired, age-old has manifested itself.
Ooh, that was a mouthful, don't you think? That was agitprop, projection. That was all the tools, folks. All the tools. Branding, polarization, all of those things Hillary and Kim just shared with you. But then, did you notice Kim listed 3 of her heroes? And the one in the middle, Paulo Freire. We spoke about him in Savas 2, I believe, on the webinars. This is one of the most divisive Marxists that has contributed to the education system. So the educator has the responsibility of not being neutral, is what he says. He is the one that pushes the culturally relevant teaching and responsive teaching. His work, pedagogy of the oppressed, yeah, that's where that's her hero. Okay. So folks, you have to know this entire school system is systemically compromised. And that is why we can't count on Trump. He can't be in every county in this nation. He can't. And we've got to go in, and these people need to know that there are parents and people in every single county in this country that are going to flip the tables on all this stuff, find it, and get it eradicated. That's the only way you're going to get this out of these schools. But, next month we're going to talk about, from a Christian worldview, on how do you handle this? How do you process this? Because we have to understand this is coming against the Christian worldview, and it's coming against several others. So if your worldview means something to you, you need to dig in and find out, what is it that these people are modeling? This right here is it. All right, next. So remember, this was James Comer, the father of SEL. We covered that in the Castle series. His famous little slogan that you'll find on all of these little American School Counselor Association people's laptops will say, no significant learning occurs without a significant relationship. That's the reason that they are pushing all this mental health and everything. This man here, he is 90 years young. He's a darling looking little grandpa, but he's just as liberal as the day is long. He was also educated at Indiana University when Alfred Kinsey was there. So who knows what his background was that's propagated a lot of this information. But the thing is, the fact that this man has been able to have such an extensive list of accolades and accomplishments, he has an 87-page CV. He really defies the narrative that America is a racist country. If he is a 90-year-old and he has been able to climb the ladder as such with this. Hillary Clinton herself has given him awards. So we're looking at, this is the apparatus, and this is how far reaching it goes. And these are some of the names that you need to know in order to show the communist dedication of these schools. And it's systemic, remember? So now let's take a look at how is this relating to our kids when we're using propaganda news to teach them. We've covered Newsella, remember? I'll show you something about that in just a moment. But let's look at what's happening with DEI, because we're not dumb people. We're looking at the news, and to DEI devotees, what's happened to Trump with these prosecutors up here looks like anti-racism, right? Same with Judge Merchan. But now, perhaps to us and some others, this might look like systemic racism. They've projected this onto us when they're the ones that are systemically racist, don't you think? All right, so I don't know how many of you follow Matt Walsh, but in his he did this movie, Am I a Racist? Folks, this is a lot. He's using satire to absolutely expose the DEI industry in America. And he went around and he pretended that he was on a journey, he says, all the way through the movie. And anyway, he started hiring different people that were the DEI enthusiasts and the ones that go to all of corporate America, that they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to propagate this big lie of DEI. And anyway, he makes an absolute mockery of the entire industry. Folks, go to dailywire.com, subscribe to it, and watch this, and you will see what I'm talking about. The different people that he has on this movie, he paid one lady, he had to pay her $50,000 to come and talk to them about DEI. Another one, he paid, $30,000 to another. He had to pay $15,000 to another. Folks, this is an absolute racket, to the point where Robin DiAngelo, the writer of White Fragility, this book, she sits down with him and she goes, now, what is your name again? She didn't recognize him because they don't watch the Matt Walsh show. And he goes, my name is Matt. And she goes, well, you never can be too careful. And he looks at the camera and he goes, oh yeah, you never can be too careful. Guys, when he did this, it's hysterical. The whole audience is just laughing. This was in the theaters this past summer, and now it's streaming. So I highly recommend, even if you just get a subscription to this for a month, you can watch What is a Woman, which is another way that he used satire to demonstrate how absolutely ludicrous the transgender cult is as well. So he does remarkable work, and I highly recommend that you get on there and watch these movies. They're hysterical. All right. Here was the other thing he did that I thought I would just die laughing about. He did this on X, or this was all put on X. He went to, in his disguise, he infiltrated the DNC, and he was on national news standing there, and people on Twitter, I was on Twitter that night watching it happen. People were just dying laughing, sharing it over and over again, and it exposed them for just the absolute farce that this media is, and all the way through it. So it's very interesting. So all right. So one of the quotes that he had on his movie too was, racism is not dead, but it is on life support, kept alive by politicians, race hustlers, and people who get a sense of or politicians that get a sense of superiority by denouncing others as racist. Thomas Sowell. Guys, this guy here, he's brilliant on exposing anti-racist information as well. So here he is in his full little outfit, and the whole audience is chuckling the whole time. If you go to when I went to the theater and watched it, because he's showing exactly what they're doing to us. And again, that's at dailywire.com. I highly recommend watching that to help you understand, and even get other people, maybe find out how you can have a watch party or something. All right, remember we went over Newsela, and I want to fly through some of this because it's just a revisit of things we've already done, but this is something you can use whenever you present this in your area. See this one box I have here, number 18, it says gain control of all of the student newspapers. Well, they're digital now, and Newsela's one of them. And they are using these particular, where's my sheet here? They're using these particular news cycles in order to teach students. So right after Trump was indicted or whatever for in New York, they had it right on the Newsela screen. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, this article here. So whenever you go into Newsela, you can establish your own Newsela account, and it's called Newsela Lite because you'd have to buy school access if you got the full gamut, which no one can afford, and actually they won't even sell it to you because it's designed for schools. And that's another thing. They have this brick wall where we can't tell what they're teaching the kids, right? So yeah, that's part of it. But anyway, here they are teaching about Stormy Daniels and the sexual issue that led to this court case. How's a culturally relevant teacher going to teach that? See what I'm saying? They're using this in order to indoctrinate and talk about inappropriate material with kids. That's how they work. There it is. That's the article itself. So whenever you go to Newsela Lite, you can take that newspaper article, find out, like right down here, I could tell it was done by USA Today, and I looked it up on the internet, printed it out, and said, oh my, what conversations could be held from this, right? Okay, so there you go. All right, so that's pretty much what my point was. Culturally relevant teachers, they're going to capitalize. Now, here's the kicker. How systemically can they orchestrate the news today? Some of you may have seen this video before, but I want you to see this and really take it to heart, because this is what's happening inside the schools. Watch.
Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our 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 democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
My 50-year-old husband was.
All right, so guys, have you ever heard of Channel 1 in the schools? Yeah, this is extremely dangerous to our republic. This is systemic. This is 100%, DEI is 100% propaganda. It's 100% systemic in our schools, and it's delivered through Castle's Trojan networks. And that is why you see something like this. What do you think? Rapid onset gender dysphoria? It's on the increase. 15 years is all it took to go from 2 in our nation to however many that is. Isn't that, does that resonate with you folks? This is DEI at work. This is SEL at work. This is systemic. This is systemic, right? Remember, we've talked about the lens that's used through Castle. Don't forget, that's how they convert the worldview. If you've not seen the Castle series, I can't recommend it highly enough. Go through it, because through the 5 competencies, the heat is on. Your children are in a peer pressure group, or you might want to call it a struggle session, modern day struggle session. And then the teachers. Remember, we had the one gentleman in the Imagine Learning that talked about coming out, and he talked about telling the other students how proud they would be of someone being themselves. Yeah, that's a love bomb. Yep, a lot of attention given to them. Kids at that age are craving attention. And each student is supposed to make good grades, right? They might want to make an A in inclusion, do you think? They're children. And that's why this is happening. And yeah, that's a mic drop. That picture alone should make your jaw just drop. That's how this is happening. That's DEI everywhere. Do you see something on his lapel? You really didn't need the big arrow, did you? That's our Secretary of Education. It's in every single segment of our education system. The American school system, it is compromised. We're post-trust at this point. And here's the reason why. You know, folks, back in Hitler's Germany, back in 1933, 45, we had what we called the brown shirts, the Hitler Youth. Mao's China, we had the Red Guard. Look at all those deaths. Look at all of that, folks. Look at it strongly. This is what should drive us to go to our school board meetings. Is that what's going to happen next with the rainbow shirt? The global rainbow, one world government shirt? We have an opportunity, and this is what it's going to take. This is what it's going to take. We've got to keep going with it. So anyway, critical theory is each of these activist armies. It was critical theory, and that's what's going on right now in our nation. So the ACT and the SAT, these college prep testing, equity by design. I mean, read this in the blue box. Through our focus on equity by design, ACT will strengthen and accelerate our ability to build inclusive schools and solutions that support all learners along their academic and career readiness journeys. Well, who do you think's assessing all of these? I mean, Pearson does a lot of assessing, which we know Pearson's corrupt and Savvis. But then let's look again, too. You've got ACT. They have an SEL program called Mosaic. And here they're teaching all the 5 competencies right here. On the left with that red arrow, how your actions demonstrate open-mindedness and curiosity about a variety of ideas, beliefs, people, and experiences. What might the culturally responsive teacher open up on those subjects? Seek out interactions with people, ideas, cultures. I mean, it's over and over and over again. Okay, I know this is a little repetitive, but I just want you to know this is ACT. But here is the chilling part. Back in 2018, the Prince in the UAE had them design a morality test. Really, that's what Forbes says. The new standardized morality test. Really. The ACT folks have developed a standardized test for measuring morality. Now, do you want these corrupt people teaching morals to your child? For a Christian, we believe in the moral law, the 10 Commandments. But you're going to test moral laws? You better be saying a whole bunch of no to that. That is why we've got to be involved. DEI must DIE. That's point blank. They've got it on their own press release, ACT, to deliver assessment for the moral education program to students in the UAE. The Crown Prince, Abu Dhabi. There you go. All right. So publishing contracts are another thing. I did just a sampling. We're going to zip through. K through 12 publishers. Many of these we've already covered. We've not done Houghton Mifflin Harcourt yet, the very first one there. But the others we've touched on. But look through this. You have Building a Culture of Inclusion, Houghton Mifflin. You've got Savas. We've already gone through this thoroughly. It's their whole foundation is DEI. You have Imagine Learning. He's the one that had the gentleman that I was just speaking of that taught kids how to come out as gay. You have Newsella. We've talked a lot about that one. That's another one. You've got proof. DEI, DEI. It's systemic. Here's Brain Pop, and there's Brain Pop Junior. And I've had a mother one time call me and say, Marcia, would you look at this with me? It is straight up on YouTube for anyone to see, but my child in the 2nd grade was able to access these LGBTQ lessons, a 2nd grader. So anyway, inclusion and representation in Brain Pop content sounds more like brainwash to me. All right, so that was 5. Now, the libraries. We're going to lightly touch on this one. A few years ago, Emily Drabinski was the American Library Association's president. This was her tweet. I just cannot believe that a Marxist lesbian who believes that power is possible to build I mean, here she is just talking about herself in such a way, a Marxist lesbian who believes that the collective power is possible. Guys, that's communism, using the word collective. It's in the SEL pledge by Castle. This is communism. And not only that, the Bill of Rights that they have, children should be able to have privacy of whatever they check out in the library. People should, no matter their age, they should be able to see anything, whatever they want. That's what's on the Bill of Rights for the libraries. They also have what they call the Radical Card Catalog. Be sure to research that one for yourself. It's just par for the course. All right, so we don't want to spend too much time, but listen to this.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm a librarian. I just wanted to take a moment. I just want to say thank you for bringing up libraries and collecting libraries, but also libraries of all kinds, public libraries and higher education libraries, which have been attacked in similar ways. But I think your point that public education needs to be a site of social organizing, I think libraries really do too. And I haven't seen that for working in libraries, but I think there's real opportunity here to both connect with happening in public education, what's happening in libraries, but also we need some help in the library. We need to be on the agenda of organizing. So I just want to say that. So thank you.
Your neck out and find a difficult part of the inspiration for me.
All right, compliments to Carlin Borncinco for putting that information out. Folks, it's systemic. It's all systemic. Castle is a doctrine. and it's the missing PEAC piece, PEACE, and it's also known as cultural Marxism. So I've put out another one of these screens for you to be able to screenshot, use on your social media, get it, share it. You can go on my Facebook page. I've already shared it, so you can just share it. It also drives people to watch the Castle webinar series, but it divides and shows you both sides of the lens of the left and the lens of the right. And it shows the traditional family values for everyone to look at as well. We'll be discussing a lot more about that next month. Probably a couple of months out, we've got another company that we're working on to bring to you as well. All right, so here's the real funders. Folks, you know, I didn't realize how much Allstate is the biggest contributor to the Castle Foundation, $350 million that they contributed to help get this thing started. So do you think you're in good hands with Allstate? I don't. All right, remember the Collaborative for Advancing SEL, not for advancing America or freedom. They're advancing globalism. And the game plan is to fight, fight, fight. And how? This is the golden moment to explain to you, how do we eradicate that rainbow shirt coming at us? How, you know, because that's what these things do. They turn your own children against you. We know that happened in Hitler's Germany. If you want to find out information about that and about Mao's China, there are plenty of people that will talk with about this and share their stories of these wars. All right. And then look here. Kamala Harris talks about eating no for breakfast. Well, we're going to eat a whole bunch more no's than she does. You know, they got that cereal with Post, I think it's called the O's. We're going to eat the no's, and we're going to be giving 100% truth. And ours won't be containing DEI. Folks, we have to expose it, and we have to show it to parents, whether it's in your daily talking with friends or whatever, just point them toward this. And it's hard. Who wants to factor in a whole bunch of time to learn such negative stuff when you hear negative stuff anyway? It's something. Prayer is going to have to take a big part of this as well, because our students, they're worth it. All right, so fighting local control laws. You know, if you have an attorney that can help you understand what the local control laws are for your state, your area, these are the documentations that we need to really be promoting. And I think I've got some sources to share with you next week about, or next month about that as well. We have got to dig into the local control laws and find out where we can take our ground back. And also, there are a lot of existing laws that schools just aren't complying with, because you can't even hardly find an attorney that will fight the school system. This has to be done in front of the school boards. This has to be done by getting these school boards flipped and learning how to turn them over. We have to stop the data collection. We've talked about this. Find out the local control on this. How can we take it back? Local control laws. Read the law. Read the education law in your state. And you know, we'll start discussing those and working things out like that as we continue to build this repository of information for you to use to stand against these school boards and these schools in general. So remember too, a lot of people tell me this, and I'm working on a condensed version of some SEL information for some certain people. And, you know, by design, SEL, it's complex. It is by design. Overwhelm people so they won't know where to start, and just hope for the best is basically what they hope to put you kind of in a stupor so you won't know what to believe. The too long didn't read is the excuse people have. They don't want to get involved. They don't have time for it. We have to make time for this, because we absolutely just gave our kids futures away, and they've already got enough financial debt on their backs before they're even born. So our future generations are paying the bills for all of these trillions that we're in debt. But let's not make them also pay with their very lives in servitude any more than we already are. So this is why we're really coming at you today. Hold events, get the word out. All right. So also, demanding access codes and right of review online in our homes. You got to find out what the laws are to this. If they never put your work up on your websites for your school to give public comment, if that's the law, because like I know in Georgia, that is the law, that they have to give access codes for 30 days for public comment before they put any of this, any curriculum into action. But I can show you in South Georgia how they are totally ignoring those laws. So that's where I was when I cut my teeth on this work. And I can show you left and right where they have been breaking the law, the school systems themselves. And if you have an attorney general that doesn't care when you email them, which pretty much was the case when I talked with that about different things, you've got to look at this in a different way. So folks, local control and finding out how we can fight back. And who knows, we might even have to file some civil suits ourselves. Actually, I think that is pretty much what we're going to have to start doing. So anyway, parents also should not be limited to coming to the school district office to review these vast video series. They should be able to have these access codes where they can do it on their own time on the weekend or after hours, because the fact that they're having to do the school board's work for them by really looking into what these companies are about, I think they should be able to do it where they don't have to take time off on top of it and lose money. Folks, this is a very real thing. As a matter of fact, I've had people from the schools provide copies of different things for me that they could have sent online for free and charge me a lot of money for my open record work. That's what the schools will do for you. They are not transparent. They are systemically non-transparent. So use the word. Copyright's the other thing. They're going to hide behind copyright laws. Matter of fact, even judges, we found out in this one case we just had, even a judge will go ahead and put it into his order when he mandated that they give us open record on it, but said, well, you can't copy it if you get open record. I'm going to give you open record, but you can't copy it to show it to people. True story. So we've got to go and push back against that as well. So anyway, the thing is, if we can't find or clip the proof, they can turn off the lesson. They can clip it out. There's a whole bunch of things they can do and say, no, we're not teaching that, because that's what you hear all the time. No, we're not teaching that. But what you can do is, if you use your local control laws and reject the companies that won't allow you to produce clips to share with people to talk about. I mean, if you bought a static book, I could do it then. I should be able to do the same thing with a video. I should be able to do the same thing with a video. So other than that, the only other alternative I can think of is if we required all school boards to have active a computer there so we can go and access the lessons that we looked at online, so we can pull it up and discuss it with them there in front of everyone. And it be, what we found, there's something that has to happen with securing this information. So I want you to look at this. This will give you a picture of what I'm talking about. This is a sex education curricula, and this is Puberty, the Wonder Years. Its target is 3rd through 6th grade students, teaching them about puberty, okay? So my 2021 edition of Puberty, the Wonder Years, was released in September 21, and it's already been revised based on feedback from the field. Now in a digital format, it can be revised continually. So I'd love to hear from you. What she is saying is that she can change this anytime she wants. So if you have a health advisory committee that's approved this curriculum, just know that you're going to have to approve it every single minute of the day, because it's fluid. That's why it needs to be secured. That's why you need to call your legislator and have it secured. That's the reason you need to use these graphics and these videos, because I got that off her Facebook, and you can use it. It's not copywritten. Folks, we have got to start collecting as much of this stuff as we can. So curricula should not be wide open to woke publishers, and it should be secured, and it should be approved, and it should go through every single process that our laws say for us. Local control override this garbage. So also, different social media platforms you can use to get the word out. X does not usually censor. Sometimes they will, but you'll learn what can and cannot be said. Build out a group page on Facebook. They will censor, and their algorithms will, reduce your coverage area. But what you can do is get other people to come on there and start commenting, and you can generate more activity on it. So build out a group, concerned parents of whatever your school district name is. And then build a website, use heat maps, and feel free to link our webinars to it. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I am generous with my work. This is to protect children, and I love children and families, and I want to see them protected. Here's my last one. Every school has a deep state, and this is why we recommend hiring local. Folks, a vested interest in the success of a community and a genuine love for its children far outweighs credentials that bow to the current trends in education like DEI. Hire local people, hire local people, hire local people. Say it again. Hire them for leadership because you won't regret it. Today's schools are failing, so make the change now. This is an event that's happening January 25th. Child Protection League. They're going to have G Van Fleet. She's a survivor of Mao's Cultural Revolution. She is amazing. Joy Pullman, Tamara Scott. This will be a fabulous event for you to learn more at cpleducation.org. And remember, time is running out. These are the worldview exits I cover in my book, The Parent Navigator. It's $5. It's a 200-page roadmap for you for $5. And if you cannot afford $5, let me know. Or if you want to gift it to a group of people, a team of school board members, email me, let me know, and I will send you free codes. All right, so download our resources at parentsonthelevel.com. We have all kinds of information there for you. And also a great big thank you and Happy New Year. And a thank you to Diane and Protect Ohio Children for being so supportive of this work. They are such good help for me to get this word to you. And everyone should send them accolades and thank yous because they are a wonderful organization to protect children.
Okay, Marcia, fantastic job. Thank you so much. We do have several questions here for our Q&A time. Marcia, are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn under an old job because I lurk. That's where I lurk. That's where I find out a lot of information.
Okay, they're asking if you and I are on LinkedIn. Perhaps they want to know, bio information. I work for Ohio Value Voters, and my bio is on ohiovaluevoters.org. Do you have your bio somewhere, Marcia?
I have it in my Parent Navigator book, and I will be glad to share it with anyone. If you want to email me, parentsonthelevel@gmail.com, I'll be glad to share it with you. I have served families and churches my entire adult life as a children's director, and I absolutely love kids and families, and I know when my worldview is being run over, and that's what's happening in these schools today.
I'd like to know how to remove unions out of schools in our country. I'd like to make contact with someone who has done that in order to follow their example. I can comment on this one. We had formerly had a board member from the Freedom Foundation on the Protect Ohio Children board, and they have done great work. They've worked in many, many states. So you can go to the Freedom Foundation website for more information about fighting unions in your state. Anything else you want to add, Marcia?
Well, I do think that with the funding being cut, I think our legislators prompting them to cut their funding, I think that is on the agenda for Trump's upcoming administration. I think that encouraging that is a great thing. But basically, yeah, I would follow what you had said on that. But yeah, encourage your legislators. And, if you think that it doesn't, just one person, oh no, all of our voices add up constantly. Go ahead and get your legislators on speed dial so you can call them, and also get your legislators' names on a prayer list. Start praying for them to have wisdom to see this stuff for what it is.
Marcia, will there be a file available that has links to the videos that you used today?
Yes, the whole thing's going to be on there. Everything.
Parentsonthelevel.com.
Mhm. Yep.
Uh, Possibly enlightening, terrifying, and helpful report on what I myself am looking for and found. So someone is sending us some research they've done. Marcia, you'll want to take a look at that sometime after this
Yeah, please
webinar.
email it to me at parentsonthelevel@gmail.com, and I'd love to converse with anyone that has research.
So here's a common frustration from people. I tried doing requests for information and public records requests regarding SEL, and the school has told me in writing over and over that they do not work with CASEL and do not have SEL. Do they know what I mean? I cannot believe they would lie to me in writing as it could be used against them. How specifically can I word the request for information so I can root them out?
Um, well, pretty much if you look and find out what they are teaching, find out find out what systems they're using. Because if they're using like Savvis or they're using Imagine Learning, SEL is embedded in those systems. Uh, and some of it's integrated into the actual lessons. Uh, if you will go to the Castle series and learn how that works, also, like, you can also find out, do an open record, find out how many American School Counselor Association members they have in their schools, do an open record for any monies paid to the American School Counselor Association. Um, Find out any reimbursements they have made to counselors or administrators for attending the American School Association events. That's drilling down further. I've found that that's productive. Another thing to find out about SEL by using that is does your school subscribe to any counseling agencies outside of your school district? You find out which ones they're subscribing to, and then say, what social and emotional learning platforms does this counseling group subscribe to? That's what we just won in Nassau County, Florida. I say we because I love helping. So it was Citizens Defending Freedom, which is a fantastic organization that footed that and backed it. And I mean, Jack Nockey with the Nassau County group, he just does amazing work. He and Rich Lampkin and the rest of their team, they're just fabulous. So, we have these people that have worked on these court cases, and they had a win to get the open record because they had firewalled using a subcontracted counseling center. So look and see if that's the situation. It's there. Just keep digging. Just keep digging. Make a notebook, make it part of the story. Don't get frustrated, make it part of the story, because I have found that the more they tell you, the more rope they're taking to hang themselves. So just make it part of your story, put it in your notebook, and if you need insight, I'll be glad to chat with you. Diane would be too.
I can tell you that in Ohio, if you're in Ohio, you can go to the Court of Claims website, and if you pay a fee of $25, the courts will review your claim of not being given access to open records requests that you're making. So that's one avenue to think about as well.
Yeah, and if you also ask if you're, what curriculum do you have that is CASEL aligned? And just get the list of all of the different digital resources that they have. Tell them to provide you the list of all of the things that they've purchased, and then we can determine if they're CASEL aligned, and I can show you how that works.
Are you going to have a webinar regarding AI?
Ooh, that's going to be a good one. That will be a good one. That'll be a little bit further down the road, but we need to. AI is that's a threat. That is a direct threat. Folks, this is not going anywhere anytime soon. The American school system is unsafe for children, whether it be a physical threat, because we've seen how schools go through school shootings, the mental health threat, you've seen how much money they've spent and how that's declining. The spiritual threat to your children, that they would convert them into secular humanists. What more does it take? Do we want to keep presenting our children? Here's the thing. People say to me, well, Marcia, all these single mothers, all of these single moms, they have no one else to rely on. They have to go to work. That's when we need to be talking with our pastors, with our churches. Doors need to be opened up in order to help educate children.
Okay, that's it for today, Marcia.
Wow, good, good. Those were some really good questions, and I'm very, very encouraged by your interaction. And guys, hang with us. Keep coming. Get the word out about these webinars. And once I get it posted later on this evening, please share it and just, pray for us that we'll be able to continue working and getting this good information out to y'all so you can fight, fight, fight. All right?
Thank you,
Thanks
Marcia.
All right. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.